What if I told you that the people you love the most are the ones who betray you the most, not your enemies? This is the tale of the day I came to the realization that they no longer cared about me. But I suppose I should begin at the beginning. Olivia is my name. For the majority of my life, I believed that my relationship with my family was rather stable. I am currently 28 years old. Of course, we weren't flawless whose family is. However, there were Christmas mornings, birthday dinners, and those sporadic thinking of you phone calls that gave me a sense of community. But in retrospect, I'm amazed at how blind I was. Last summer, everything began to fall apart. My parents were going all out for my sister Sophie's 30th birthday celebration. A full open bar, a massive party at this pricey downtown location, and a guest list that included half the town. Mom had been talking about it for months, referring to it as Sophie's big day. I was genuinely delighted for her. Despite the fact that Sophie and I are extremely different from one another, we have always been close. The golden child is Sophie, the one who consistently knew what she wanted, who received full scholarships to a top university, and who earned straight A's. She now resides in a high-rise apartment with a view and is a prosperous lawyer. I've been learning stuff as I go along in the interim. Though it's not flashy, I work in marketing for a mid-sized business, pay my own expenses, and lead a fulfilling life. Until the celebration, I was proud of it, nonetheless. My mom texted me a week prior to Sophie's party. "Mama, hey sweetie, just a heads up, we're planning to do a family trip to Italy next month. We're thinking 2 weeks. Can't wait." I read the message several times while I stared at it. A journey to Italy? When did it start? I looked over my texts with Mom, but I couldn't find anything. No invitation, no hint of a vacation. Perplexed, I answered. "You! Sounds amazing! When are you guys booking?" Mom's reaction was prompt. "Mom, oh honey, we already booked everything last month. It'll be me, Dad, Sophie, and Aunt Linda. But we'll FaceTime you while we're there." My phone felt like dead weight in my hand as I sat there, I recall. FaceTime with me? They made all of the travel arrangements without notifying me? Without even thinking to inquire if I would like to attend? I immediately called my mother. After 2 rings, she picked up, cheerful as if nothing had happened. "Hey, honey! You're heading to Italy, Mom?" I sounded too composed for how I was feeling. "Oh, indeed!" As if it weren't a huge thing, she said. It was quite impromptu. Since Sophie has been under a lot of stress at work, we thought it would be wonderful to give her a unique birthday present. And nobody considered inviting me? A pause occurred. "Well, sweetie, we didn't think you could afford it." My stomach dropped. "You didn't even inquire." I always felt like a kid when Mom said, "Honey, don't be upset," her voice falling into that phony, comforting tone. "It isn't intimate." "Not intimate? Do you mean me?" Before I uttered something I would later regret, I hung up. My heart was thumping in my chest, and my hands were trembling. Not intimate. The fractures in our family's facade began to emerge at that point. However, things worsened. Oh, how things worsened. I wore my best outfit, a dark green satin dress I had purchased especially for the event, on the night of Sophie's party. When I got there, Sophie was already in the middle of the group, clutching a glass of champagne and laughing. Her parents were standing on either side of her, looking incredibly proud. I was about to give her a hug when I heard someone say, "Yes, the vacation to Italy will be fantastic. Sophie deserves it because she has worked so hard." I felt my gut tighten. Sophie grinned back at me and said, "Hey, Olivia." She gave me a quick hug while wearing a bright, flowery scent. "Happy you made it." I made an effort to grin. "Indeed. Italy, then?" Her head was cocked. "Indeed. Mom, did you not hear?" She informed me. "After you made the reservation." Her grin dimmed. "Oh, well, it happened pretty quickly." Mom interrupted me before I could say anything further. At a volume that only I could hear, she urged, "Olivia, don't make this about you. Sophie's night is tonight." One recognized for the first time that I was simply there in my family. An afterthought. A supporting role in Sophie's life's elaborate show. As Mom turned back to Sophie and began to giggle and clink her glasses, I stood there, feeling the blood rush to my face. I made small talk with folks I didn't care about for an additional hour at the party, before sneaking away early. Nobody even realized I was gone. I tried to ignore the burn in my throat as I sat in my car for a while, staring at the driving wheel. It was more than just the journey. The party wasn't the only event. It was the fact that I wasn't even on their mind, as if I were merely background noise. What's the worst? I still wasn't ready for what was about to happen. I tried to tell myself I was overreacting for the following few days after Sophie's party. It was only a trip, after all. Perhaps they didn't intend to exclude me. Perhaps it was merely a miscommunication. But the horrible feeling in my gut got worse the more I considered it. Sophie then began sharing pictures from the vacation on social media. Images of her laughing with Mom and Aunt Linda on a boat in Venice, sipping a glass of wine with Dad at a rooftop restaurant with a view of Florence, and standing in front of the Colosseum. So grateful for this amazing family trip. Love my people. And best birthday ever were among the nauseatingly similar captions. My heart was pounding in my chest as I sat there reading the posts. Do you love my people? Those who didn't even consider asking me if I wanted to attend? The people who had already determined that I wasn't welcome? I couldn't help but look at the photos even though I didn't want to. Mom and Dad were grinning as if they had won the family lottery, and Sophie was radiant in the Italian sun. And I wasn't mentioned at all. They didn't have me in their photos. They weren't thinking about me. They had recently returned from Italy when I met Sophie again. She arrived at my apartment with that same radiant grin and a bottle of wine. Hey! She held up the bottle as she spoke. Let's get together as sisters. Still with that knot of resentment tugging in my chest, I opened the door. How did the journey go? Wow, she said, entering as if nothing had happened. Florence was amazing. You would have enjoyed the pasta making class we took. I arched an eyebrow. Oh, I see. Sounds good. She kicked off her heels and collapsed on my couch. Yes, it was really pleasant simply to be together. Only family time, no work, no worry, just time with the family. With my arms folded, I took a seat across from her. So why didn't I get an invitation? Her smile wavered. What? You people organized an entire trip without even informing me. Why? She let out a sigh. Come on, Olivia. That wasn't the case. What was it like then? She paused as if she was trying to think of a plausible reason. Mom simply assumed that you would feel strange about it. With money and everything, you know. Cash? I yelled. After all, you couldn't have afforded it, could you? My cheeks began to blush hot. Have you ever considered how I would feel about that? Did anyone? Sophie straightened her posture, and her voice began to sound defensive. Olivia, it wasn't personal. Once more, there it was. Mom had said the same thing, not intimate. You guys made bookings, booked hotels, and booked flights, and nobody bothered to let me know. You didn't even inquire about my attendance. Well, yeah, she answered, rolling her eyes. Because we thought you'd say no. Why do you think this is so important? I gave a sour laugh. Because, Sophie, it's a big deal. She gave a headshake. You're so dramatic, God. I clenched my jaw. What's dramatic, you know? Taking a family vacation while acting as though your sister doesn't exist. She brushed imaginary lint from her jeans and got to her feet. Olivia, I'm not sure what you're asking of me. We can't just go back in time and make things different. No, I replied, standing as well. However, you could acknowledge that it was flawed. Irritation flashed in her eyes. All right, I apologize. Are you happy now? No, because you don't mean it at all. With a sneer, she picked up her luggage from the sofa. I don't understand your obsession with this. It's not as though you're particularly fond of family matters. With my heart racing, I opened the door. I suppose I now understand why. Without saying another thing, she left. With tears stinging the back of my eyes, I leaned my forehead against the door and closed it. However, the journey was only the beginning. Then everything began to fall apart. Next was Thanksgiving. I'm not sure why, but I was taken aback when the invitation never arrived. I texted Mom the day before Thanksgiving. What time are you guys doing dinner tomorrow? Hours passed before she responded. And lastly, Mama, oh honey, we're doing something small this year. Just Sophie and a couple of close friends, close companions. Not relatives, not me. I gave her a call. She didn't respond this time. After an hour of waiting, I called once more. She picked up at last. Hello, my love. Brightly, as if nothing were amiss, she said. Are you for real now? I said. What are you saying? Are you sure you won't invite me to Thanksgiving? Well, honey, it's not like that. This year, it will just be minor. My throat constricted. Sophie is with you there? Yeah, but you are aware of Sophie's closeness to everyone. And you and I aren't close? Sighing, she said, Olivia, don't turn this into a thing, please. Don't turn this into a reality. My voice broke. I am your daughter, she added, her voice slipping back into that patronizing tone. And you know we love you. Sophie, it's just that this is her first Thanksgiving back after the trip. You're rewarding her for taking a trip to which I wasn't invited. Then? Don't be tough, Olivia. I fought back tears. Mom, I'm not being tough. I'm attempting to figure out why you're comfortable acting as though I don't exist. Quiet. Look, she remarked at the end. Maybe next year, okay? Next year. I ended the call. As I sat in my apartment, listening to the sound of traffic outside and the quiet hum of the refrigerator, I felt a sense of emptiness. Thanksgiving passed. They didn't contact me. Not my parents, not Sophie, not even a happy Thanksgiving text of sympathy. It was okay, I told myself. I had companions. I lived my own life. However, family is meant to be different, isn't it? Friends come and go. Families are expected to remain. However, mine was vanishing. I also didn't know how far it would go. I told myself that I was done after Thanksgiving. I did, really. I had decided to stop reaching out. No more pursuing them or questioning why they weren't interested enough to include me. It's okay if they didn't want me around. I would lead a life of my own. And I did stick to it for a while. I immersed myself into work and activities with friends as December arrived. I was doing okay, maybe not very well, but getting by. Then Christmas arrived. Why I even bothered hoping is beyond me. Perhaps because we had always celebrated Christmas as a family. Dad reading The Night Before Christmas by the tree. Mom's sugar cookies, which were always a little burnt, but we acted like they weren't. And stockings above the fireplace. It was customary. Christmas was always the reset button, even during stressful times and arguments. However, this year, quiet. I gave in and texted the family group chat on December 23rd. What's the plan for Christmas? Nobody responded. Not for an hour, not for two, not for the remainder of the evening. At last, Sophie sent me a private text. Sophie says, Hey, we're doing something low-key this year. Just me, Mom, and Dad. My chest began to drop with the same sensation. My response, why wasn't I invited? A minute later, she responded. Sophie said, It's just a small thing, Liv. Nothing personal. Nothing private. It was beginning to feel like a slap in the face when that statement was said. I didn't respond. Rather, I went to bed early in the hopes that they would at least give me a call on Christmas morning and realize how embarrassing it was to leave me out in this way. They didn't. I came across Sophie's tale on Instagram at midday on Christmas Day. She was seated with her parents, drinking mugs of hot chocolate, in front of the tree. They were all wearing similar pajamas. The caption read, Merry Christmas from the whole family, the entire family. My heart was beating so hard that I thought it could burst through my ribs as I stared at it for a long time. My eyes began to well up with tears, but I forced myself to swallow them. After, Sophie shared a video of herself unwrapping a small velvet box that her father had given her. There was a tennis bracelet with diamonds inside. Oh my God, Dad! Sophie let out a squeal. It's ideal. The background voice of Dad, it's only the best for my girl. My girl. Something inside of me suddenly exploded at that point. I sat there, trembling, and tossed my phone across the couch. Everything came crashing down at once, including the memories, the justifications, and the times I had convinced myself they weren't sincere. This was not a family that included me. Not at all. Sophie was. The realization that I had been deceiving myself the entire time was the thing that killed me the most. I had worked for years to show that I was as important to them as Sophie was. However, I never did. I wouldn't. Sophie texted me a week later as if nothing had happened. Hey! Want to grab lunch? Said Sophie. I choose to disregard it. I reasoned that I would give them what they wanted if they wanted to treat me like an outsider. Sophie, however, didn't give up so quickly. 2 days later, she texted me once more. Sophie's response: Olivia, seriously, are you mad or something? What gave it away? Don't be dramatic, said Sophie. Those 3 words held my attention. Avoid being theatrical. Isn't that what was wrong? I was always perceived by them as being very dramatic, as though I was dreaming, as if I was partly to blame for the way they treated me. So I answered. My response: You guys left me out of the trip, left me out of Thanksgiving, left me out of Christmas. But sure, I'm the dramatic one. No answer. Mom unexpectedly called me the following week. A perverse part of me still wanted to hear her voice, even if I nearly didn't respond. Hey, honey, she spoke intelligently. How are you doing? All right, I answered bluntly. So pay attention, she urged. At the house, we're having a small New Year's Eve celebration. Only a few close relatives and friends. My chest constricted. This time, am I invited? Well, this is actually going to be a small get-together, I said. Mom, just say it. Quiet. At last, she remarked. I don't understand why you're making this such a thing, I yelled. Because it is a thing. You guys act like I'm crazy for noticing, but you keep ignoring me, Mom remarked. Well, Sophie's been under a lot of stress lately, as if that took care of everything. She simply needed some time off. A reprieve from me? Mom let out a sigh. It's not that deep, honey. From where I stand, it feels pretty deep. She let out a sigh. See, perhaps next time. Perhaps next time. I sat there for a while after hanging up. I wanted to cry, to scream, to smash something, but I refrained from doing so. I allowed the silence to descend upon me as I sat there, since I at last comprehended. They were indifferent. Not at all. I was just a bit too much. A backup daughter. Sophie gave another call a few days later. When I replied, she remarked, Hey, what you said has been on my mind, and you might be correct. Perhaps we ought to have invited you. I straightened my posture. Perhaps? Indeed, it was awful. However, it's not as though we intended to harm you. My stomach turned over. I was hurt by you. Yes, but not intentionally. That doesn't improve it. She let out a sigh. I'm not sure what you want me to say. You see, I would like you to apologize. I apologized already. No, I muttered. You didn't. She sighed. All right, I apologize. Are we all right now? I felt my heart pound as I closed my eyes. No, we're not. She was unsure of how to respond to that. To be honest, I didn't give a damn. For the first time, I had given up attempting to get them to notice me. I wasn't going to plead for a place at the table if they didn't want me there. Following New Year's, I made a sincere effort to move on. It was over, I told myself. That I was no longer concerned. That it was their loss if they didn't want me around. However, it wasn't that easy. Isn't it never that easy? The problem with family is that the burden of it never truly goes away, no matter how hard you try. During the peaceful times, you carry it. When a particular song starts playing on the radio when you're driving home from work, the fragrance of Mom's burnt cookies fills the air as you pass a bakery. You have to swallow the pain in your throat when you witness a father and daughter laughing together at a coffee shop. It felt like that, similar to a persistent aching. Sophie then gave me another call. Hey, she said nonchalantly, as if nothing had occurred. What are your plans for the upcoming weekend? Why? Mom and Dad are going to this charity function. It is somewhat significant. I hoped you might like to attend. It nearly made me chuckle. They wanted me around now? What's the catch? I said. Sophie's voice was a bit too bright, but she said, No catch. It's just that having the entire family present would make it look better. Oh, it was there. You want me to play backup so the pictures look good? It's not like that, Liv. No? Here, I'm trying, she said. You wanted it, didn't you? My heart was pounding as I sat there clutching the phone. I couldn't decide whether to cry or yell at her. Give it some thought, I added. All right, she said. However, Liv, please don't make it a complete thing. Without answering, I hung up. I stewed over it for several days. I went over the entire trip, Thanksgiving, and Christmas again. The justifications, the gaslighting. They gave me the impression that my desire to be included was ridiculous. And now, since it would seem good they wanted me there, I still wanted to say yes, though, for some pitiful reason. There was still a part of me that yearned for that table seat. I replied, yes. I purchased an elegant black outfit that gave me the impression that I was at a high society function. I tried to tell myself that this was okay when I stood in front of the mirror, did my hair, and applied makeup the night of the event. That this time, I was in charge. Sophie was standing beside Mom and Dad at the location when I got there. Sophie's hair was fashioned in delicate waves, and she looked effortlessly flawless in a champagne-colored dress. Mom was grinning for a camera while she had her arm around Sophie's waist. Sophie waved me over when they noticed me. Liv, she said, you look fantastic, as if she had been saying it all along. Mom's smile was a bit too forced. You look good. Dad remained silent. He only nodded courteously at me. I felt as though I was a guest at the table of my own family. Sophie leaned in close, putting her arm through mine. Please just smile for the photos. I grinned. However, something was exploding inside. The actual event was dull. Rich folks were standing about discussing about irrelevant topics while sipping pricey wine. Sophie seemed to have been born to move from person to person. Laughing at all the appropriate jokes, Mom and Dad remained at her side. I stood there too, by themselves, invisible. Once more, Sophie once dragged me into a picture with my parents. We should get a picture of just the family. The photographer stated with a smile. I went cold. Mom paused, then grinned. Oh, it's all right. Simply take it with everyone. Take it with everyone, please. As if I hadn't even been involved. Sophie took hold of my arm after the picture. Could you go get me another glass of champagne, please? I gazed at her. Really? Will you please? She said, putting on that charming grin that had always pleased Dad. And I understood that this had nothing to do with family. Convenience was the issue here. I was there to make room, in order to make it appear proper. It's not that they desired me, since they required me to finish the image. So I turned to leave, away from the bar, in the direction of the exit. With unsteady gasps of breath, I crept out the side door and into the chilly night air. As I moved toward the street, my heels made a clicking sound against the pavement. I knew I couldn't stay there, but I had no idea where I was heading. I heard my phone buzz halfway down the block. Sophie, where have you disappeared to? Me, home. A second later, she called me. I replied. Are you for real now? She yelled. I mean it. You can't simply walk away. Observe me. Don't cause a scene, Olivia. Am I said. Or are you simply upset because I'm no longer portraying the role? What in the world does that mean? It means I'm done, I murmured, trembling. Being the backup sister is over for me. I have finished playing the supporting role in your ideal small family. Liv, please stop being so dramatic. I gave a sour laugh. Indeed. You say that all the time. I ended the call. My pulse was pounding as I stood on the sidewalk, gasping for air. And I didn't want to cry for the first time. I felt lighter, as if I had finally dropped a burdensome burden. I removed the dress and tossed it in the corner as soon as I arrived home. I sat on my bed and gazed at my phone after that. No phone calls. Don't text. Nothing. It dawned on me that it wasn't that they couldn't get in touch. They simply didn't want to. I had the option to walk back into the event. I could have been more polite, grinned for the camera, acted as though nothing was wrong. But I no longer wanted to. I had had enough of acting. And that felt like independence for the first time. You know what makes leaving amusing? You anticipate a significant response. There must be a dramatic moment when they rush after you and beg you to stay. That was not the case. The following morning, I found nothing. No phone calls. Don't text. Nothing but quiet. And that's when I truly realized it was finished. I had lost my anger. Simply put, hollow. Like when you finally put down a big object you've been carrying for too long, yet your arms are still hurting from the strain. It took Sophie 2 days before she called. Hi, she remarked nonchalantly, as if nothing had occurred. I remained silent. So, will you be joining us for supper on Sunday? Even though I chuckled, my voice didn't seem natural. Really? What? You believe that I'll simply appear as if nothing had occurred? She let out a sigh. It's not a huge thing, Liv. You departed from the gathering. What the heck? That's the issue, I muttered. What? That you don't think much of it. A long pause ensued. So you're really going to make this a whole thing? Sophie asked. I declared, I'm not making it a whole thing. I'm done acting like it doesn't exist. Sophie let out a big sigh. Oh my God, Liv. Why are you unable to let it go? Give it up. They always wanted me to do it, don't they? When they forget me, let it go. When they excluded me, let it go. When they treated me like an afterthought, I let it go. Give it up, for their benefit, in order to prevent their discomfort. That they wouldn't have to confront the possibility that they had let me down. You know what? I said. Don't call me anymore. Sophie sneered. Oh, hurry up. Stop inflating yourself, I told him. That's the last time you'll get to say that to me. I then hung up. 6 months have passed since then. It had been 6 months since a call. No texts for 6 months. Silence for 6 months. It should have hurt more, wouldn't it? However, it didn't. I initially waited for it to feel like an error. I imagined that one day I would wake up with the strong desire to call Sophie or go to my parents' house and plead for permission to return. However, that did not occur. Rather, the silence settled in, calm. For once, I began to pay attention to myself. I enrolled in a yoga course, began keeping a journal, read the books I had been considering for years. Real friends were built for me, the type that gave me a call to check on me. I even entered into a romantic relationship. Alex is his name. He truly listens to me when I speak, and he's hilarious and nice. He is very unlike my family. I got a text from Sophie once, a month following my breakup with her. Hey, it said. I hope all is well with you. I looked at it for a while. I could have responded. I may have slightly opened the door. However, I didn't. Because of the following, for the first time, I realized what it meant to let go. Forgiving them was not the same as letting go. Pretending it didn't occur wasn't the point. It didn't even entail accepting it. It required embracing the fact that they would not change, that I was unable to elicit the level of concern I required from them, that I was worthy of more than token invites and snatches of attention. I had to acknowledge that I no longer needed them in order to let them go. Yes, it still hurts occasionally, when I observe others with their families. I get this pain in my chest when Alex's mother gives me a hug and refers to me as sweetheart, as I know my mother never used those words. I consider how simple it would have been for them to adore me if they had made a more concerted effort. Here's the difference now, though. I no longer require their affection. I don't require their blessing. I don't require their approval. For myself, I'm creating something fresh, something tangible. Alex and I had supper with his folks last week. His mother prepared homemade lasagna. Alex rolled his eyes at his dad's cheesy dad jokes, but I could see he secretly enjoyed them. We are so glad to have you here, his mother exclaimed as she gave me a hug after supper, and I nearly burst into tears, since I at last sensed it, a sense of belonging. I didn't have to earn it. Not because I took a seat at the table that wasn't occupied, simply because I was myself. It is Sophie's birthday the following week. They'll have a huge party, I'm sure. The entire family will undoubtedly be present, grinning, laughing, and snapping Instagram photos. They will undoubtedly notice my absence for a brief moment. Sophie will undoubtedly tell herself that it's because I'm being challenging, that I'm acting irrationally, that I'm exaggerating. Let her believe that. Let them all believe that. Because I don't care what they think for the first time in my life. I'm no longer upset. I'm not resentful. I've just finished, and it's incredibly satisfying.